Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Courtney King, and today's short talk is going to be about the best way I think to level up your career, move into tech with no degree and possibly no work experience at all. I won't beat around the bush. The simple trick is career certifications. What are career certifications? So there's lots of entities that offer sort of alternative education sources. Some of these are universities, and you can take courses and get certifications online. Those can be great. Some of these are companies like Google. So we'll use Google as an example, although you can find certifications from IBM, Microsoft, Meta, all sorts of different organizations. But let's go with Google because I think that they have the biggest and possibly the best and most diverse set of career certifications out there. Essentially, Google created like an online academy because they were having trouble recruiting people with the skills that the tech industry actually needs people to have. Even when they were recruiting directly from universities at the graduate level, people were still coming out of school, really not with the skills that were most in demand. So Google created this sort of online academy. And they have tons of different certifications and all sorts of things. User experience, right? UI, UX. It could be web development. It could be project management, all sorts of stuff. Data analytics, data science, goes on and on and on and on. I truly believe there is a career cert for everyone out there who actually wants one. Why do I think that this is so good? Because it can legitimately allow you to get a job that will level up your career, that will pay you more, and that will open the door to a fulfilling and lucrative career without a traditional degree, and sometimes without job experience. So how does this work? The first thing you need to do is do your research and find one that works for you. There are lots of roles in tech that are in demand. There's just not enough people with the certifications to fulfill them. They could be anything from project management, which is a really big one. I just mentioned data analytics and data science. This is huge. There are certifications in cybersecurity. There are certifications in artificial intelligence and all the different types of artificial intelligence, including machine learning, natural language processing, blah, 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 blah. I could go on and on. But the reality is that there's a demand for people with these skills, and there's not enough people with the skills. And that's where the career certifications come in. I think that in many of these roles, an ability to demonstrate that you can do the job and that you have the skills is more important to these hiring companies than whether you have a specific degree in computer science or something like that. Those degrees are not unimportant, but as time goes on, they're going to become less important. And I think that these alternative education sources can be a huge boost to your career if you are willing to choose one, stick to one, and complete one. So do your research and find one that interests you. This is going to take a little bit of time on your part. You can go to YouTube and find tons of great resources, find information about these different jobs that may interest you. Maybe you're interested in marketing. Maybe you like numbers. Maybe you think you would be good at coding. Maybe you want something that's non-technical. There are options for everyone. So do your research, find something that you think would be a good fit for you. Go to Google, go to IBM, go to Microsoft, go to Meta, look up the courses that they offer and the certifications that they offer, and find one that you think would be feasible. They're going to be structured all sorts of different ways. Almost all of them are meant to be completed remotely, and a lot of them are meant to be completed at your own pace. So even if you already have a full-time job, even if you have a family at home, even if you are in school, you've got a bunch of stuff going on, whatever, a lot of these courses are self-paced. So whatever time you can find in your day or in your week to complete a little bit of it, you can sort of go at your own pace. You don't have to actually log in to a Zoom class and listen to a Zoom professor or anything like that. They're meant to be self-guided. So find one that works for you, find one that's affordable for you, and don't be afraid to try more than one. Now, I don't mean get certifications that are in the exact same thing that are redundant, right? You don't need a basic data analytics certification from Google and then go get an identical one from Microsoft. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, if you have done research about this particular field that you might want to try out, maybe it's project management, you will understand that there's typically levels of these certifications. There's like a first level for entry level folks, and there's more an intermediate level once you have experience, and then there's more advanced levels. And for anyone who's in tech, whether you do have traditional education or not, it can be important to try and gather these certifications over the course of your career, because they will help you open the door to more senior level roles. Many senior level roles and a lot of this more technical stuff are going to require these certifications. So you're going to collect these like Pokemon as your career progresses. It's not like you're one and done. So do your research on that. And if for your field, it makes sense to do more than one, I think a good example would be UI versus UX. For those of you that don't know, UI stands for user interface. UX stands for user experience. A lot of times they're used interchangeably. They're technically two different things. User interface is typically a little bit more creative, and user experience is typically a little bit more data-driven, but they often go hand in hand. And so sometimes these certifications are UI/UX certifications. But sometimes they're just one or the other. Maybe you want to get a certification specifically in UI, and then you want to pair it with another certification specifically in UX. This is just an example, but that sort of thing can signal to an employee that you're serious about this, right? You're not just, grabbing a random certification and just hoping that the wind blows your way. You're serious about this particular job set and this particular set of skills, and you want to be thoroughly educated on both sides of this equation. That's just one example. Marketing, right, can be another example. Maybe you want to get a certification in graphic design, and you also want to get a certification in digital marketing. Why? Because those two things typically go hand in hand. So it can be helpful to have both of those things on your resume. Again, this is going to require research on your end, but don't be afraid to stack these certifications and be aware that you're likely going to have to collect more of them as your career progresses. It's not one and done. Once you've gotten a certification, you're going to need to demonstrate in some way that you have absorbed the skills. Again, this is going to vary based on what certification that you get. If you get a web design certification, typically part of that course, you're going to have to build your own website, right? And so that is a way to demonstrate that you absorb the skills, especially if you've built a website that is good. It looks good and it functions well. That can be a really useful thing to have for an employer that is asking for some sort of proof of your work. Some programs will guide you in creating a portfolio of work. So again, marketing, digital marketing, graphic design, UI, UX, some of these more creative web design, some of these more creative certifications, they'll guide you in creating a portfolio because you're going to need one when you're going to apply for jobs. You can't just say, I'm a web designer. I went through a web design course. You're going to have to prove, like, can you actually design a good looking website that functions properly? Or they're going to guide you in doing some sort of major project that can serve the same role as a portfolio. Other times, though, you're going to need to find a way to demonstrate this yourself. So maybe you take a web design course and for some reason they don't ask you to create your own website. Okay, well, once you're done with that course and you have the certification, design a website. It doesn't matter what the website's for, right? That doesn't matter. You need to prove that you actually have the skills. If you have a digital marketing certification, create some copy, create some content for a fictional brand that you created. Again, you need to prove that you have the skills to do the job. And this is really just to get an entry-level job, right? This is just the first step. So you're using this to get an entry-level job. From there, you can start learning and expanding your skill set. And then when you have time, right, maybe you get another certification to stack, right? And that can open the door to a more intermediate level job, and so on and so forth. One thing that people will ask me about this is, well, aren't these certifications sort of just like participation trophies? Don't they just, you just pay the money and they give you the certification? There are some out there that are like that. Yeah. I won't mention any by name because I don't really want to disparage any companies, but there are some companies out there that's not like they're scamming you, right? But basically You don't have to do the coursework, and you don't have to create a portfolio. You don't have to prove that you've absorbed the skills, but as long as you've paid the money and you've watched the online videos, you get the certificate. Yeah, those are not ideal, and likely the employer is going to know that that certification is not worth very much. That is why I think it's important to go with one from a big name. Google, IBM, Microsoft, Meta. I'm sure there's more out there. Also, universities. Universities have become extremely good about offering all sorts of online certifications. Don't overlook that. If there's a state university in your area, or even a university that you would never be able to get into in real life, like I would never be able to get into Harvard, right? But I can take a Harvard certification for a specific career or skill set that's gonna mean a lot when it's on my resume. Yes, when the person looks at your resume, it's not like you're lying to them. They know that you did not get into Harvard, but it doesn't matter, right? You studied with a Harvard professor for 6 months, whatever it is. And for these more, I would say, bigger named certifications, you do have to demonstrate an understanding of the material. You have an actual professor or teacher that is actually going to ask you to demonstrate your knowledge of this. There's going to be tests, papers, projects, deadlines. It's a real thing. And then you have to score a certain score in order to get the certification. I would recommend those, right? Because they're just going to carry more weight on your resume. And just do not underestimate the power of name recognition. Again, look at someone's resume and see that they have an education certificate from a big university or from Google or IBM. That is going to carry weight. That is going to mean something to your employer. So don't underestimate those. Okay, guys, I'm going to be talking more about career certifications just because I think that they are such a good tool, a good way to transition into tech, and a good way to get skills that are actually being sought after in the industry. There's a lot of people that believe that in order to get in tech, you basically have to know how to code, and that's the only way. That is far from the truth. There are tons of different types of people and personality types that work at tech companies. They're just like any other tech company. And so I want to help you guys find a way in one way or the other. That's it for today. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified of new content. I post new content here every single week, a couple times a week. So you want to be notified of that. Other than that, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.